Ashley Pickle of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, executive producer. Ashley, how are we doing on a Halloween night?
Hey, James. I'm sitting here watching Pflugerville Weiss and College Station on Dave Campbell's Texan Live, so it's hard to get much better than that.
Oh, my goodness. Of course, the nerd of all nerds, Ashley Pickle. Nothing but high school football throughout the entire season. We wanted to bring you on and really just talk about a lot that's going on with the whole season. We're 2 weeks away from playoffs getting started. I just kind of want to get your overall first takes. We've got these last 2 weeks going on right now. What are some of the things that these high school football fans need to really be paying attention on as we get to the end?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, James. I mean, obviously, the best time of the year, as we say at Dave Campbell's, is right at the precipice here with the high school football playoffs. I mean, 6 weeks of win or go home. It's the greatest sport around, and specifically this year, and especially in the DFW area, I think that there's been some chaos, and some of the teams that we're used to seeing winning are not doing that. Other teams are rolling along right as usual. There's quite a lot going on specifically with these next 2 weeks. When you start taking a look at, okay, who's in, who's out, where are we going with the playoffs? And there are a couple that you really got to keep your eye on heading up here. So, for instance, in 11-6A, we call it the District of Doom. Everybody's heard of it. You've got the Duncanville, the DeSotos, all of those. One of the games that you really need to be keeping your eye on when it comes to that is actually next week when it's DeSoto and Lancaster. That will actually be seeding for who is the top Division II seed in 6A coming out of that district. So if you're not familiar with Texas high school football, everyone is broken into two divisions except for 6A. They weight and base it off of enrollment. So that's a huge one coming up there. Another funny one coming from District 3 in 5A Division 1, that Aledo Denton Ryan district, is you got to watch out for Azle and Richland. That game is actually going to decide who ends up being third and fourth in that district, which is wild because just last week, Aledo almost lost their 124 district game winning streak. That's 17 years, guys. Richland pushed them there, and then now they're vying for the third and fourth place seeds. So this is the time where we say, if you're not necessarily a Texas high school football fan, let me get you caught up on where we're going and why some of these lower ranked games really, really start to mean a lot at this point in the year.
Ashley, Fred Davis here, and great to have you on. And I'll tell you what, I've jumped back into covering a little high school football in the great state of Texas this year as well. And you're right. I mean, it is a marathon, not a sprint, but every weekend feels like a sprint when you're talking about 1,500 schools that you're covering, and it's incredible when you cover it from top to bottom. But you talk about that 11-6A being a District of Doom. Look, that 23-6A is no cakewalk either when you talk about North Shore, Atascocita, and Summer Creek. And, of course, they're going to match up next week. When you look at North Shore, when you look at those two other schools, and, look, we could talk about Duncanville and DeSoto all day, and we certainly will. When you look at those five schools, what has stood out to you the most when we talk about this top-heavy 6A?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. 23-6A down in the Houston area is pound for pound the juggernaut that 11-6A is. We have seen Craig Stump's Atascocita team. I mean, they have had one of the most difficult schedules in all of Texas high school football. In just the first 3 weeks of the season, they took on what was then a state-ranked Houston Lamar team. They beat Katy. And then at Katy, yes, correct. And then they traveled to Austin to take on Austin Westlake and ended up beating them there. The Chaps don't lose in Chaparral Stadium, okay, guys? And so that was incredible. And then you get into district play, and you've got an unbelievable Summer Creek team that, yes, we saw them get absolutely destroyed in Jerry World last December, but a team that pound for pound is equally one of the best teams in the state with an incredible defense. They didn't allow a single point until they played Atascocita. That's how stout that defensive side of the ball is. And then, yeah, you've got the glaring beast in Galena Park North Shore. And, of course, anyone from the DFW is going to hear that and go, okay, what edition of Duncanville North Shore are we on? Well, 6A is looking just as tough. And so Atascocita took the loss to Galena Park North Shore 2 weeks ago, but I'll tell you what, those two teams likely to meet again in that regional semifinal round. Very interested to see how that one shapes out. And then obviously going on into playing that, seeing where they end up if they do make it back to the state championship. But don't count out Atascocita just because of that loss last week to North Shore. It's hard to beat a good team twice. And if anyone can do it, Atascocita, this might be the year for them.
Ashley, I do want to ask you about another region. We talked DFW, we talked Houston. Let's talk Golden Triangle for a bit. Let's talk about Port Neches Groves. Now, for those who don't know, Dave Campbell's Texas Football rankings every Monday around noon. We saw PNG go from 1 all the way down to 9 after the Nederland loss. Talk about that a little bit and what went into that.
Yes, so Port Neches Groves obviously playing South Oak Cliff in the state championship for the past 2 years. They lost the first one, won the second one. Jeff Joseph, the son of Gary Joseph, finally bringing that football crazy part of the state, the illustrious state title. And when I say football crazy, I mean you would be hard fought to find a better fan base in Texas high school football than Port Neches. But you mentioned it, James. Obviously, taking the loss in Mid-County Madness last week to Nederland, a very, very good Nederland team. That one had a lot of implications, but the one that is absolutely the most critical that some people might not realize, I actually got to take you all the way back to February for this one. So every 2 years, the University Interscholastic League, the UIL, will do reclassification. And so we go through all the realignments and, you know, they put them in the districts and classes and all that stuff. Well, PNG shockingly moved from Region 3 to Region 2. The reason that is noteworthy is now, with that loss to Nederland last week in district, that will likely have them, unless something goes terribly wrong with their remaining games of Montgomery this week and at Dayton the next week, it likely should be big favorites in both of those games. But if something was to go crazy, then this wouldn't even matter. But with them finishing now second in districts behind Nederland, that puts them potentially playing South Oak Cliff in the area round. So we're getting our last 2 state championships playing in the second round of the playoffs, man. You want to talk about not being fair. The fact that we don't get to see those 2 teams continue on, that will be box office stuff in just round 2 of the Texas high school football playoffs.
Oh, so that loss to Nederland now, and look, don't sleep on Montgomery. I think you're right though. They'll beat Montgomery. They should beat Montgomery, but Montgomery I think is what 6-2 or something like that this year. But no, that's a shame. That's too bad because I mean, look, you're going to get a great second round matchup. What do we think of? And look, I know we get caught up in the heavyweights and rightfully so. But you know, when you look at, and we know what Dallas, we know what the DF Dub here, we know what we're doing in this region, and I got to give a shout out to Coach Antonio Wiley and the Capel Cowboys for what they're doing right now. And obviously, you know, H-Town speaks for itself. But how impressed are you with what you've seen out of the San Antonio region this year?
Very, very impressed. I think the team to keep your eye on for the San Antonio region is Alamo Heights. Michael Terry is
don't sleep on them mules.
Incredible. Yes, Coach Ritteman has those mules absolutely rocking. And I think that if you were picking anyone out of the San Antonio region, that would be the one. We've had really high hopes for Cibolo Steel as well. They took an early loss to Austin Westlake, and that's really been the kicker in San Antonio. There are a lot of good prospects. There are a lot of good teams. But for so long, it has been since Steele beat Westlake, and I believe 2013 was the last time that we saw a 2-1-0 team finally get over that big bearing hump of the greater Austin area, specifically Lake Travis and Westlake being the two that likely will make a San Antonio team fall victim there. But if I had to go with anybody, I think that Alamo Heights really, really has a good chance to make a deep playoff run.
I'm gonna give you a wild card though. My boy Nick Rogers over at Piper.
There you go. Yeah, Piper has been an outstanding team as well.
Yeah, Ashley Pickle here from Dave Campbell's Texas Football on 105 to the Fan. You know, we bring it back up to the DFW region, and a team that I have seen more recently is North Crowley Panthers, number 3 in 6A. And Ashley, when we look at this, obviously North Crowley is going to be a state favorite. Duncanville is always a state favorite, but they're not going to be in state versus each other. We know that last year North Crowley had a chance. They go to play Duncanville Are we going to see part 2 this year, and are we going to see a changing of the guard?
Man, that is the toughest question to answer because first off, we got to talk about what Ray Gates has done for that North Crowley program.
Man.
I mean, obviously coming in, this is his first head coaching job. He's been here. He has gone 10-0. He has not lost a regular season game since he's been there. He has been the catalyst that has really, really sparked what has been an incredible run under his tenure so far. But Chris Jimerson has been incredible. Obviously, they're running back Cornelius Warren. I'm not telling you, James, I know anything that you don't know here. But this team just looks complete. They're explosive. The way that they can score so quickly, the defensive backs has looked great. And that's what's going to be interesting. I think it'll come down. I do think we will see Duncanville versus North Crowley again. I think the thing that it comes down to is the lines. I mean, Duncanville is just massive up front. And not to say that North Crowley isn't, but man, that will really start wearing down on you. And two, you look at a Duncanville squad and they go up against teams like Waxahachie, Lancaster, DeSoto, all of that week after week after week. I'm not saying that Crowley's District 3 6A is necessarily a walk in the park, but they also don't face as difficult as competition throughout kind of that mid-season like Duncanville does. So it could go one way or the other. Duncanville might be tired, which never seems to happen, or North Crowley maybe not as big game tested. But we're really hoping to get that matchup again because I would love to watch it go down.
Ashley Pickle from Dave Campbell joining us here, talking all things high school football. We are 2 weeks away from high school playoffs getting underway. And, of course, you guys actually, first time this year, James was telling me, we're going to have a little live unveiling of the playoffs this year, correct?
We are. We are so excited. We announced it earlier today, but we're doing a special edition of our show, Texas Football Tonight. It's usually like a NFL Red Zone style show, if you will. We show a ton of different Texan live games, get you all the highlights, to watch it live, get the reactions. But we're going to do a special edition of that. It'll be Saturday, November 9th. At 10:30 p.m. So get done watching your local newscast, see where your teams are playing, and then head on over to either our YouTube page, Facebook, Twitter. Will be live on all platforms. But yeah, we're really one of the only companies that has you covered from all 12 brackets, from 1A football in the 6-man ranks all the way up to the big nasties we were talking about with Duncanville and North Crowley. But yeah, 10:30 p.m. Saturday, November 9th. Come hit us up, and we'll be revealing all of the playoff brackets. So it should be a lot of fun. Matt Stepp, Greg Tepper, the whole crew.
Ashley, I do have to ask you before we let you go, this week, obviously tomorrow night, we're going to be Texas Football Tonight once again. Go ahead and tell the folks some big matchups to look for that are going to be on that channel.
Yes, absolutely. So probably the biggest ones here, let me get the exact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pull this up so that I make sure that I don't mess any of this up here. But the real big ones that we're working with this week, sorry. Let me see if I can.
I know Mansfield, North Crowley is one of them because I'll be there.
North Crowley is absolutely one of them. We've got Little Cypress, Mauriceville, and Huffman Hargrave.
Shout out to LCM, the Bears. How about that? Golden Triangle. Gotta love it.
The Golden Triangle is just loaded this year between them and Silsbee and Port Neches Groves. It's insane. We've been hitting them up every single week. Lake Felton and Georgetown, another one that kind of decides some district seating. And then the big one out of the DFW is Denton Geyer and Louisville. Very excited to watch both of those teams. That's been an insane district. And if you're a prospect hound and you're looking for some really good recruits, that's the one you're going to want to have your eye on tomorrow.
Well, and that's for what? They're playing for second place in that district, correct? Because obviously Capel's already pretty much locked that thing up, but that's for second place, is it not?
Yes, yeah, that one will definitely be for second place. When Geyer took the loss to Coppell earlier in the season on the 4th of October. But that district 5-6A has been just an absolute juggernaut, and that will definitely be for the second seeding there.
Don't sleep on my fighting farmers. Don't sleep on my fighting farmers, Ashley. Real quick, I got to get you out here with this. Because I'm dying to ask. Look, we spend a lot of time talking about the heavyweights, and rightfully so, and they get the attention because that's what we love to talk about. But two teams, and I've had a chance to talk to both their coaches this year. I told you about talking to, and Antonio Wiley has done a phenomenal phenomenal job for what he's done. And his boy Eddie G, Baylor commit, 6'3", 200 pound. This kid's flinging the ball all over the yard. When you look at them, and then you look at what my guy's doing down at Fulshear, right? And again, they got a little bit different style of offense, maybe a little bit of a throwback when you look at it, kind of like a wing T type deal that they're going. When you look at these type of teams, right? And look, at the end of the day, and Antonio told me the other day, he goes, look, it comes down to physicality when it comes to the state playoffs, right? I mean, that's what wins the day. When you look at a Capel, when you look at a Fulshear, teams that are on the come up, on the rise, they're both 8 and 9-0, I think, respectively. What kind of odds do you give a team like that or teams like that when it comes to the playoffs?
Man, it's funny because you're right. They can sling the ball, especially Fulshear down there with Kadudi. He is an offensive mastermind. And when it comes to teams like that, we've seen it a lot. I think Liberty Hill is a really, really good example, and not of being able to sling it by any stretch, but a team that can just outscore you. So I say that they can get very far. It is hard at times to actually claim that state championship because eventually you will line up against a defense that is just going to put so much pressure on a quarterback that they can't handle it. And that's exactly why I think that you see the North Shores, the Duncanvilles, the DeSotos take a look at their offense and defensive lines. I mean, these games truly, after 16 games, 17 straight weeks, all of the summer workouts heading up to it and everything. If you have size on the line and physicality, that's what it takes, I think, to really, really get to AT&T Stadium and get to go up against anybody. So I'm always rooting for Kadudi, definitely rooting for Antonio Wiley, hoping those teams, let's shake it up and get some new teams in Jerry World. That would be fun for us as well. But I'll tell you what, man, size and power down in those lines, that really says a lot in Texas high school football.
Ashley, always a pleasure. Thanks for coming on, talk a little high school football. Before we let you out, where can people find you on Twitter and all social platforms?
Yes, so Dave Campbell's is at DCTF or at Dave Campbell's, depending on Instagram. It's at Dave Campbell's, and then for myself, at Ashley_Pickle12. So really appreciate you guys having me on, and happy best time of the year. Let's play some playoff football.